What's up, filmmakers? This is Thomas from Keeping It Real in the film world, where you will hear stories, experiences, and from filmmakers on making connections. Alright, guys, quiet on the set. Roll cameras. Enter Christian Hudspeth. Christian is starting his career as an actor and filmmaker. Even though just 19 years of age, Christian has some nuggets for anyone just starting or getting going as a filmmaker. He truly does have a passion for all films, and you will hear it as you listen to his story. Please welcome now the one, the only, Christian Hudspeth. Thank you, Christian, for coming on, and time after before getting all started, we had to work through technology issues, and we got something situated so we're now in this interview, and came across something. If you listen to another interview that I just did, I'm going to be releasing that on Monday. You can, for anyone new to this line of question that I'm going to open with, you can go back and basis for. I pretty much saw this clip on YouTube TED Talk about what your purpose and finding your purpose in 5 minutes. I know usually it takes a little longer than that, but it's simple. It's 5 minutes, 5 questions. Who are you? And we'll start there. Who are you?
I'm Christian Hudspeth, and I'm an actor in the Houston area. I answered the first question, who I am. And the second one, really, right?
And this question number 2 is, what do you do?
Right. Primarily in the film industry, I'm an actor, but I also try to count myself in as a filmmaker as well. Now, I'm not a Hollywood actor or anything like that, but I've only been doing it for roughly about a year, even though I've been acting a little bit since I was in 8th grade, and that's been, how old am I now? 19. But yeah, I'm an actor in the Houston area. And I also study media production over at the University of Houston, learning the technical side of film. And on the outside of school, I take private coaching lessons with a local acting teacher. So that's been really, really informative. I've only been acting professionally for a year, as I started back in March. But I just remember in 8th grade, I did a play. That's it. I just did a play, and it was really, really bad. I had such an embarrassing moment in that play because during one of our performances, I completely forgot my lines. And there's I could talk on and on about how stage acting is completely different from film acting because it's a big difference. But most actors do get started out on the stage. And technically, I guess I did too. But my first performance, they teach you in theater that whenever you forget a line, in an actual performance with a real audience, you just improvise. That way you never even know that you messed up. Audience doesn't know, they don't catch it. That's not what I did. Instead, all I did was I stared at the crowd for 30 seconds and it felt like 30 hours. And you feel this hit drop in you and you're like, what I'm doing. So I'm just staring at a blank audience, and everyone knew that it still gives me chills. But it was really, it's an experience that every stage actor will probably run into at some point, forgetting their lines and then staring blankly at the audience like a deer in headlights. Literally the lights were on me.
So that you got your starting point, and that's really important for anything that anyone does.
Yes.
and it shows how much I was paying attention. Yeah, I'm a math person. I was just when I was taking 11 years, but the next question of these five to open this, who do you, I should say, who do you act for? Who do you do this for?
Everyone. You can do it for yourself, you can do it for other people. A lot of actors will say they just like entertaining people, and honestly, that's part of my answer. I like entertaining people. I like telling stories, and it's interesting how stories can be told in many different ways. Um, like a book is fun. So you read it, you get to interpret the story of how you imagine the characters operating in their setting. If you're looking at a film or watching a film, you're getting to see somebody's interpretation of it, and that can inspire you, can educate you. It can just show you a lot of different perspectives. So I think that's really interesting. That's why I do it. That's why I want to continue to do it and just tell different stories. So I think that one of the best ways to learn is through stories. Interactive. People can relate to it. The real world examples. I mean, sometimes. Obviously, we don't have like clowns, like demon clowns running around in real life, but it's interesting.
Curious, did
So
you
yeah,
listen to any of
for
my
the people.
previous episodes? Just
I listened to some. Why did I
particularly the
reference
end,
something?
because you that was kind of touching in on one of my questions at the end, like I do the as part of the unknown questions.
Did I reference something?
Well, I mean, it's not that it was a bad thing, but it's like, oh, you listened to my stuff before. Sounds like it's a good thing, very good thing. What do you think people want or need from you as an actor, entertainer in entertainment industry?
Well, touching back on what I said previously, when you are an actor, you're doing it probably to entertain people. Um, I don't necessarily think I'm a cultural icon and I have the ability to shape entire global culture, but I do believe that film does do that, and I believe I can be a part of it. I don't think I'm going to be like at the top of the pedestal. I'm leading the charge. This is what our new culture is. No, I'm not going to be that type of person. Um, I can't really name anyone that is. But when people watch a film, they watch it because they want to escape reality for a little bit, or they want to just like look at a different perspective on something. They just want to, I guess, they just feel something that can't be felt in real life, like an action-packed movie. It's intense. You get amped up. I mean, you're not going to get amped up going, I don't know, like a 9 to 5 office job or something, unless, I mean, that's your thing. But yeah, I
And
think people watch because they just want to be entertained.
and then the last of these questions, and what is the change people will have will see in themselves after they come across something that you've done or will do in the future? What is a change that maybe you can expect?
Well, if an actor has done their job, if they can successfully invoke an emotional response in somebody, and if a film can invoke an emotional response that sticks with the person like for a long time afterwards, maybe even life changing, then that is a very good actor. It's a very good director. Everyone that was involved in the film has done their job and they've created a masterpiece. Very, very difficult to do that. And you definitely need a lot of experience or a lot of luck in order to be able to convey that towards your audience. But I hope as an actor to one day be able to do that, is to let somebody go away with a strong emotional reaction to it. And ideally, I'd like it to be good. Like, I don't want someone to be scarred for life from like a horror film I do or something like that, but just something that somebody can remember and then they can relate to. Say, for example, like, I know a lot of LGBT people were very moved by the film Love, Simon. Like, it stuck with them because they can relate to it a lot. I want to do that for somebody as well. I want to be someone's inspiration, or I want to just help somebody. I want them to use my work or the work of somebody I feel strongly, very passionate about, and I want them to be able to say, like, I use this as an example in my life to describe how I feel about something. So that's just one of many options as I want people to take away from films.
What are you excited about today? What you're doing before
I'm
quarantine
excited.
stuff happened?
Oh yeah, we are in a COVID-19 crisis at the moment, which is very unfortunate. Um, that being said, that doesn't mean I'm not excited about anything. I usually get excited about immediate things and then long-term things. Right now, I'm really excited about lunch, but like long-term, that's like what the answer you're looking for is. Long-term, I'm really excited about the future in film. I am very excited about this next semester at school because I'm finally taking a single cam production class, and that is straight up using good quality equipment to film a short film with. Um, for the longest time, whenever I try to make my own short films, they're literally like really bad, like YouTube sketches. But I've just been having to use my little Cameron DSLR camera. But with this class I'm taking up next semester with a really good professor named Keith Hauk, teaches over at the University of Houston. Single cam, you get to use good quality cameras like what's a good example? Like a Red camera. Those are really good. I've actually shot a film, my first film, I believe, Wolves, with a Red camera. And our cinematographer is extremely good. Great angles, great lighting, and everything. It's impeccable, and I can't wait to use it and learn more about that, as well as my other classes too, like an introduction into motion pictures. I'm going to take some dance classes and try and see if I can become a triple threat at some point. Right now, I got the acting down, but now I have to see about ballet and jazz, and then maybe singing. Maybe. We'll see about that.
Moving from there, you mentioned being a triple threat. You think it's better to have one focus and then have that as your main expertise that you want to focus on to get better at, and then as you move from there to then invest in the other side stuff later on? Or you think it's better to have everything all at once?
I think it's definitely an asset to you and benefits you if you have multiple feet in multiple ponds. Generally, though, I think it is also the safest and smartest way to hone in and definitely focus on one craft, because in the film industry, acting is just one small portion, and even these small portions branch off in many different directions. When it comes to acting, you can be really good at stage acting, you can be really good at film acting, and then even film acting that branches off. Are you good at being in comedy? Are you good at being in drama or suspense? Because comedy in film is not going to be the same as comedy in theater. And that's just acting. dancing is another thing. Dancing on stage is different than dancing in film, even though sometimes they do like overlap and sometimes they are the same. Same thing with singing. And then that, like I said, all that is like the performing arts section. If you're more interested in technical work, directing, that's very important as well. Crew, lighting, audio, just even the intricate details down to like a script supervisor. All of these are very, very important roles, but it is very difficult to become an expert in all of them. So yes, I think it's a good idea to become a triple threat, but I also think the first goal that people should focus on is honing one craft specifically. And as soon as you get good at that, then you can start focusing on other things. Because if you get too overwhelmed, you're not going to want to continue. That's a big deterrent for a lot of people, is they see all these different options that they can fall into, and then they don't know which one to decide, or they figure out that, wow, this is all really difficult. But honestly, while they're difficult, if you put in hard work into one section, then you'll be good at that section. If you put hard work into everything, you're going to get overwhelmed, you're going to get stressed, and you're not going to want to do it anymore. You're going to want to find something else. But yes, focus on one craft and then work on the other things later. That would be my advice.
And you mentioned, and you first got into it as an 8th grader, but is your passion realized at that point, or was it before that, or when was your passion realized?
My passion was realized whenever I kind of like my
the moment that came to you and said, I want to do this.
Oh, then it was much longer, or sorry, way before 8th grade. It was back when I was a little kid. My passion was realized whenever my older brother was an actor. My brother is 5 years older than me, and he used to be an actor and model for a Houston agency in, I think it was Page Parks here in Houston. And he got into acting because he was literally walking around a mall with my mom, and there was a recruiter that said, hey, that kid looks like he could be a model. So they signed him up, and it was just for the wing of it. My brother didn't really have any passion in acting or film. He just tried it. But then I came along and I saw like, oh, that's so cool. You get to be in movies. That's really, really cool. If my brother shared the passion for film, we'd probably be out like in Hollywood or something right now. But it wasn't for him. It just wasn't his thing. But when he hang up the mantle of being an actor, I'm like, I want to do that really, really bad. And then another big part of my acting realization is that I go to the movies a lot, and it pains me so much that I can't go right now because of COVID-19. Like, I love going to movie theaters. Just the popcorn, just the atmosphere is something I've been used to my entire childhood, because ever since I was little, I have always gone to the movies with my brother and my grandma. I call her my Mimi. It's spelled literally as mean. But I always go with her every single month just to see any movie at all. The first movie I ever saw in theaters was Santa Claus 2. It was so scary to me, I cried and we had to leave because the screen was too big. But ever since then, I've just loved going to the movies, and I've always told my Mimi that I love watching these so much. It's about time that I try to start making them. So I feel that with a lot of things. If I surround myself with it enough, eventually I want to start doing it. Same thing with writing books. I think I'm a good writer because I like to read books, but doing it is one thing. It's very different from actually just reading or watching things. But yes, I like to practice, and I want to act now that I've watched movies for basically my whole life.
Yeah, I like going to movies, especially by myself, like the by myself part, because if I end up like going with someone else at
Mhm.
the end of the movie, I got into this like doing this way in college after like, but I like to sit around after the movie ends and watch the credits
The
scroll.
credits.
But no
Oh
one
yeah.
else wants to do that. Like I try to watch like, are you coming? Are you coming? No, like it's not technically over yet.
No, I honestly, I'm the same way. I like to see who was making the film because I'm very appreciative of all the different workers in a film because it is a team effort. You cannot make a film just by yourself. And if you are and you manage to nail it, then like you know something that no one else does. And we need to like all worship you or something. But yeah, it's an extremely big project to work on in a film, and you need everyone. Everyone plays an integral in English. Everyone plays an important part. It's very, very essential to have even PAs, production assistants. They're like the lowest on the ladder, but I've been a PA before, and I've had directors come up to me and say, like, you have made this production extremely like efficient today. Like, thank you. If you put in the work in anything you do, it's going to be noticed and it's going to be appreciated, and you get to feel pride that you put something together and were a part of it. And I think that's just really special with film.
I think that's good that you shared that, and thank you for Nagji for just sharing that. And that someone made you feel that pride and made you feel important, even though a lot of them, oh, he's just this or that. I I'm glad that you actually pointed that out.
Yeah, for sure. Because if you can't see the good in the work that you're doing because you think you deserve to be at the top, you need to realize that no, it's not true. Nobody starts at the top. Very, very, very few people start at the top. I should rephrase. But you need to take pride in each role that you have. You need to be able to see the positive parts of every single aspect you're doing. Regardless of where you feel like you deserve to be, just whatever position you're in, do it to the best of your ability. If you're a PA, be a very good PA. Don't be like, I'm a PA, this is just a step to the next promotion. This is just a step to a director. This is just a step to being an actor of what I want to be. Now, if you want to be in the film industry, you need to want to be in the film industry, and that means you need to want to do what you're doing. If you're hired on as a PA, be a PA. If you're hired to be a grip, be a grip. If you're a script supervisor, be a good script supervisor. Just take pride in your work, and it will show. And the higher ups will see that because they were in your position at one point. They know what it's like. So you just have to show that.
And that exactly that goes back to honing in and focusing on the one craft, and then going back later and adding, sprinkling in your other
Exactly.
interests later. Like me, I just decided just recently too, one thing I really like, the video editing, post production, I like all that. And I just decided this is really what I want to focus on. I want to find all the video editors
Oh
and
yeah.
connect with them more. And then
I've
later,
even
I mean, I like doing the interviews, and I'll continue to do this as a way to give them the value back and sharing the value too. I like doing podcast interviews as well, but the video editing is as part of my. I want to grow that as my expertise.
video editing is very, very cool to me. It's also the most complicated part. So video editors, I have to give props to you guys because that is so technical. I couldn't even get my microphone to work for this. Like I could not edit a video or like a studio quality film. I've tried my hand with Adobe Premiere Pro, and I have cried from it because it's so like complicated, but it's interesting at the same time. That just studio films have been edited on Premiere Pro. It's accessible to anyone. Literally anybody can get it. And then Media Composer is another great one. It's like an industry standard, right? Avid.
Avid Media Composer.
Yeah. Yes, it is very technical and very, very interesting, especially for like special effects, CGI. That stuff is amazing, and it's only going to get better. That's the thing. That's another interesting aspect of film. It adapts. Like, film today is not the same as it was in the 60s or it was in the 40s. It's always going to adapt, and I don't know why it would downgrade. Like, realistic Thanos, he looked like a real person. I don't see how it's going to downgrade. It's only going to get better, and that's another thing I'm also excited for.
Why you were mentioning it was like really complicated for you. You can and everything, but the thing behind that is, and a lot of things are true this way too. There are at least 5 ways to do anything. And sometimes I could see how that can be a little, I mean, even for me, it can be a little overwhelming. Like, do it this way and I'll do it this way. It's really all preference, and there's more than one way to do something, and it's just figuring out which way works best for you.
Yeah, I know. Like, I interned in high school at a video production company, and I had to make a little short film with this camera, this DSLR camera. Like, this is like old, like my trusty little camera that I've had for years. But I had to edit my short film. I had to put that in quotes. I had to edit my sketch in Premiere Pro, and I never used it before. I was like, I could barely use Windows Movie Maker, and I had to use Premiere Pro. And the way I had to put sequences together and different clips and then mix it with audio, it was so confusing to me. And then my mentor was like standing over my shoulder, and they were like looking at me and just like, it was an experience. But yeah, like you said, it's like a preference thing. There are 5 different ways to do things. In Premiere Pro, it feels like there's a million different ways to do things. It's like people pressing Control-C and Control-V to copy and paste when some people right-click. It's really just a preference. Both ways work.
There's a shortcut. You can navigate through the menu. You can. There's an option to move around on the timeline.
It is really interesting, though. Like, don't get me wrong. If I ever get a lot of clips together and I want to edit something, I like dabbling around in it. Like, I have Premiere Pro. It's fun to use if you understand what you're doing. And I definitely would love to learn more about it. Right now, I'm honing in on that acting, though.
Definitely, I can consider myself now as an expert, and I still have much to learn too. But anything you want to know, consider me an expert on the video editing. You can come to me for that.
For sure, that's a great thing. I don't ever believe that people stop learning. Like, I always want to keep learning. You can be a master at your craft, but there's always something new. There's always something else you can learn. So always keep learning. It's really important. Try to build yourself up constantly.
Try and get to a few things. We didn't get to the meat of the question yet, but I always like to ask this from the reason why I started this podcast up, and he got me Lewis Howes. If you're ever familiar with that in the School of Greatness, you should check that out. It's a really good podcast to listen to. He brings on a bunch of experts, or maybe not so much experts, but thought leaders per se. And he's over 600 episodes now with all these people he talks to.
Wow.
It's a great podcast to listen to learn just everything about life. But anyway, what are you grateful for?
Honestly, it's surrounding myself with people that think positively and are not unrealistic. Like, they'll be straight up with me, tell me what I need to do next, or they give me sound advice. You cannot deny the impact and the value that having a close relationship can do for your career, because you can't do it alone. You can try, and if you succeed, then props to you, but it's like really, really difficult. And you need people in this industry. I mean, when people say, whenever you're starting out in acting or directing or whatever realm you want to go into, and they say that it's not what you do, it's who you know, that is true. And if you have close friends with you, they don't even have to be in the film industry. If it's just somebody that lifts you up and gives you confidence, then be really, really grateful for that. If you have family in your life that's supportive of your goals, be grateful for that. I am extremely grateful for my family and friends and all of their support. I cannot do this without them and anyone I meet along the way, because I like helping people. I like people helping me, and I like collaborative effort, teamwork. It's a very great thing.
And speaking from your, I know it's been short experience, but what do you think is harder, getting started or keeping it going?
So overall, probably getting started, because this is actually, for me personally, it was getting started. I know it's different for a lot of people too. Some people will say keeping up is the most difficult person, but it's very subjective. Yeah, but for me, it's definitely getting started, because if you're gonna be an actor, the biggest thing people lack in the beginning is confidence. And I'm no expert in confidence. I don't have like mountains of confidence, but I at least know my self-worth. I like what I do. I don't hate myself for the things I do towards acting. I like criticism. I like knowing what I can improve on, but I can handle things like rejection. That's another thing that you have to know, and you have to accept when you're starting out in acting, because if you can't handle rejection, if you lack confidence, then it's going to be really difficult for you to make it as an actor. And those aren't things that you generally need just for acting. You'll need them in daily life. And I think that was really difficult for me to grasp in the beginning. And now I've come to terms with that, and I've accepted it, and I've grown from it, and I'm only excited for the future. So that's why it's a little bit easier for me to keep going, because I'm not dreading what comes next. I'm excited for what comes next. I am like a healthy degree of nervous, of course, because when you're acting, you do get nervous a lot. But if you can learn to turn that into something and turn it into excitement, then that's a great thing. So yeah.
I've always heard nervous and excitement are from the two same, are the same two feelings essentially. Nervous is excitement, and excitement is nervousness.
Yes, definitely. You can get nervous and get anxious and scared. So there's like a thin line. You can get nervous. Let's say like nervous is like in the center. A lot of people will branch it off and make it into excitement, and then the other half will go into fear and they'll run away. So go down the excitement route, because that's what's going to take you. That's going to take you far. If you go down the fear route, you're only running backwards. If you want something, go for it. You're going to get nervous. Everyone will be. There's absolutely no way, unless, like, I don't know somebody that doesn't get nervous about something they're passionate about at some point in their journey. But if you're nervous, that means something is right. That means something new is about to happen. And if you know it's going to jump you further, then go for it. Take the risk. Don't ruin yourself. But you're not going to help yourself if the only thing you do is worry about it and then you run backwards in fear. No. Go down the excitement route. Because the worst thing that can happen is just it doesn't work. Then do it again the next time. The next opportunity will come around. Opportunities present themselves all the time. It's just up to you to accept them.
That's great, and I hear you bring up Lewis Howes again. He always he saw something recently. People will criticize you for doing something, going out and doing it, and they're also criticize you for not doing something.
Exactly.
So
I think we are our own worst critics. We judge ourselves the hardest. And half the time, a lot of people are not realizing that people are way more worried about what you think of them than to worry about what they think of you. And if you have that realization, you start thinking that, wow, that just leaves me an open door to jump on new opportunities, to combat nerves, to combat fear, to combat anxiety, to combat like really, really harsh views of yourself. Yeah, I know we all judge ourselves and we all judge ourselves the hardest, but people are going to do that. That's just a fact of life. You're going to judge yourself, and everyone is going to have their different opinions about what you do and what you don't do. And you can't avoid that. So just accept it and keep moving on. Keep doing what you want to do.
Transitioning into from going after what you want to actually now taking action.
Mhm.
Rituals, habits, or like a routine that you get into and you're in a role, or you're going to start become in a role.
So down to specifics, if you're preparing for a character as an actor, there are some questions that are really important to ask. And it actually kind of is similar to the 5 questions they asked me in the beginning, or the discovering yourself purpose in 5 minutes, right? So those 5 purpose questions are very good to ask in real life, and they're also very good to ask for a character, because when you act, you are not yourself. You are somebody else. You're acting like a new person. And so you need to ask yourself, who am I? Things like, where am I? Just like the who, what, when, where, and why, that whole thing that they teach you as far back as elementary school. Then you need to ask yourself, what is my relationship to the character I'm talking to, or to the other characters in the story? You need to ask, what do I want? And why do I want it? And how am I going to get it? These are all very, very important questions that you have to ask in order to embody who you are trying to portray. So I guess that's sort of ritual. It's really just asking a bunch of questions, very inquisitive. You want to get to know your character before you start pretending to be them, essentially. So yeah, every single role I prepare for, I ask myself those questions. there's no real formula to it all. There's many different ways you can go about it in terms of like some people have rituals where they have to like, I don't know, eat 5 chicken wings before they go on stage or something. I don't know. I'm not like that. No, I don't have like superstitious rituals. But yes, preparation, studying, research, that's what I do. That's what I focus on.
So how do you said to get to know the character when the character and the good actresses, they can all do this. How do you get to know a character when you pretty much have to create that said character from scratch? Like when you get good at it, you see it happening as such. When people start watching you, they start and then they'll see an actor like walk down the street, say, "Oh, that's the character's name. That's not him," because they don't know the actor themselves personally. They
Right.
know the character they play. How do you get to know the character that doesn't exist yet? You're since you're creating that character.
So this is a really good question because this is an actor's playground whenever they get room to actually develop the character themselves. If the director is giving you full on control and they say like the character needs this, the rest is up to you. There are I have a list of just about 100 questions of random ass shit. Sorry, I don't know if I can curse, but just random stuff for every character. Of like little tiny questions like what's my favorite color? What was I like in high school? Just those types of questions just to know where they are at different points in their life. And another important thing about characters is that even in real life, look at people in real life. Everyone has certain behaviors, certain mannerisms that they do. No two people are the exact same. No one's a clone. So whenever you are portraying a new character, I would advise to record yourself and then play it back. And if you watch you as this actor and you see yourself, then you are yourself, just pretending to be somebody else. Whenever you're acting, you're supposed to literally be somebody else and you're supposed to think like that person. So pick behaviors is another thing. If you in real life don't have like, say like you blink your eye a lot or you have a twitch. If you have a character and you want to give them a twitch, give them a twitch. Pick 3 behaviors and then go off from that, and then the rest will do. Yeah, it'll like fall into play itself. Honestly, it'll make it up itself. I don't remember who did this. I believe it was, I want to say it was Angelina Jolie. I don't think it was. It might have been somebody else. But she had an audition and her audition had no lines. All she had to do was walk into a room and she was supposed to improvise as somebody that was angry. So most people, when they go into an audition and they say that like, they go in like, oh, I'm so angry, or they start cursing at something. But no, all she did was she walked into a room and there were some props. There was a lamp, there was a piece of paper, and then there was an open drawer. So what she did, she walked over to the lamp, swiped it off the table, walked over to the paper, ripped it, and then she went over to the drawer and slammed it shut and walked out. And that was her audition, and she booked the part. And she didn't say a single word. It's behavior. You need to know how to do behavior because you don't need words to convey that you're angry. It's all about action. Body language is the other half. And sometimes it's everything. and she literally can just walk in, do 3 different actions, 3 different behaviors, and you can already tell that she's angry. You can tell that something is wrong. You can tell that there is a conflict within her, and now you want to know what that is. You want to continue the story. You want to see, why did she rip that paper? Why did she just smack a lamp off a table? If she walks in and says, I'm angry and this is why I'm angry, then I mean, there's really no point in continuing. I know why you're angry. What are you going to do about it next? This is a question you might ask, but some people settle for just, all right, now I know why you're angry. But yes, behavior. Very important.
Who is your inspiration for the type of characters, or like for like a role? Who's, if the one person maybe it inspired you to get in? Like, I know that's it actually in the industry currently, or
A lot of people. I mean, I can't really narrow it down to one person at the very top, but any actor really, when you watch them on screen, you're going to take little bits away from it, and that'll inspire you. I've always said Bryan Cranston is a big inspiration of mine. From Malcolm in the Middle, from Breaking Bad, he just is an amazing actor. I believe he did a talk speaking about auditioning, and it has really helped me in my auditioning process. Where he says, whenever you go into audition, don't expect that you are like the top-notch person in there and that you deserve to get this role. You need to go in, and if you don't get it, then you don't get it. It wasn't the job meant for you. And have you seen that Bryan Cranston talk before? Because it is.
I have not heard about that. I'll have to go watch.
It's really informative.
It.
Yeah.
But it reminds me of a TV show. Not just a TV show. One of the biggest that's ever had its 10-year span. Friends. It reminds me of one audition. Joey being an actor, he's going to an audition that he's actually been on the show before, and it's like, I really have to audition for this? Well, everyone auditions. And then he just walked out because he didn't want to audition for the part.
Auditioning is its own monster. Not many people like auditioning, but it is something you have to do. And like I was saying previously, if you don't like it, you still have to realize that it is a step towards something you want to do. So own up to it. Do it to the best of your ability. And if you can master it, then you're pretty much set. I know Brett Cullen is an actor very well known in Hollywood. And he has told me a story to where he went into an audition to play a baseball player. And when he walked into the audition room and he saw all these guys lined up auditioning for the same part, he said every single one of them was wearing a baseball uniform. And he wasn't. And he still got the part. Because a lot of people think that they need to look the part when they go in for an audition, and that's not necessarily true unless you are specifically told to wear something. You don't need to dress up as a baseball player. You don't need to dress up as, an astronaut or a cowboy. You just need to behave like one. You need to talk like one. And you need to make it unique. You don't need to do this stereotype. You don't need to speak in a deep Southern accent to be a cowboy. You just have to create the character the way you think it wants to be shown, the way you think people will be relating to it.
So maybe you're not getting the auditions, but your willingness to get and keep on getting onto sets, to keep being seen by people, even if it's not actually in the audition form, how big does that help you as not particularly focus on and at that one particular time, but how big is it, you think, as an actor, to when you're just on a set as just a PA?
Mm-hmm. So if you're not auditioning and you're not acting, that doesn't mean you're not working. Because honestly, you can't always act. You do have to audition, and sometimes you're not going to get auditions, and there's going to be long periods of time where you don't get anything at all, especially in Houston. Houston's not the film capital of the world. If you really want to audition in Texas, like Austin is the place to be. Going into Dallas has a lot more stuff than Houston from what I've seen, but that doesn't mean there's nothing here. But in the time periods where there's no acting to be done because you just don't have any acting work, then there's plenty of other things you can do. You can always be in classes. I think any great actor will tell you that they always are in classes. Even well-known Hollywood actors that you know today, that you see, that you think are the best actors in the world, they still take classes. What is that guy's name on Stranger Things? He plays the sheriff. He takes classes still. There's so many actors that take classes, and that's what you should be doing when you're not acting in an actual production. And even then, you can still be on set. That's time you can use to meet people, to form more relationships. What I like to do is I like to be a PA just to meet people, especially when you're starting out. It's super easy work. You don't need experience to be a PA. But if you're home and you're not on set, you can be writing. Say you want to hone storytelling, write some screenplays, watch some documentaries, watch some TED Talks. Just form different characters in your mind, come up with story ideas, things that you've always wanted to be told.
A lot of people, I've heard them say, well, I haven't been seeing the script, so I'm going to write something that I would like to be in.
Yeah, that's a good, actually, they do that in some of my acting classes too. It's a really good experience to write your own scripts, write monologues, and then say them out loud. Write a dramatic monologue, write a comedic monologue, see how you do, record yourself. You can always play those back and learn from them.
What tactics do you take when looking for auditions? Where do you find them? Search? Do you use social media? Do you use are they in newspapers?
I've never used a newspaper before.
Classifieds.
Classified.
Like you mentioned your brother, I've heard this. I've heard the ads on radio about be the next Disney Channel star on the radio, like things like that.
Yeah, people hear those. I don't know anybody that has done one of those ads and have successfully become super famous from it. It's probably happened. I don't know. I'm not going to go that route though.
I know it's really competitive.
Ew. Acting is going to be competitive, but that's also
Yeah.
something you have to accept, and it comes with rejection as well. You may look the part, you may behave like the part, and they may love your audition, but there's sometimes people are just better than you. But
you may not have that look.
You just don't have the look. Like, you're a great actor, and a lot of times if you do go in and audition for one part, they will say straight up, we don't see you as this part, but we think you would be great for this part. That's happened to me before. But tactics in terms of getting auditions, going back to like starting out, that was also a like concern of mine. Like, I thought in order to get parts, I would need like an agent, and I don't know how to get an agent without experience. And it's kind of like a catch-22, like a circle. Like, how do you even do this if you can't do that and you can't get that? A lot of auditions will ask for a video reel. And if you are just starting out and you don't have any experience, how are you going to give them a video reel? Like, it doesn't work. Like, you can't do that. You need their production in order to put things into your video reel. But then they're also asking you for a video reel. Like, I'm locked, and a lot of people stop there because they don't think that they can continue. But that's not true. A lot of people will just accept a self-taped monologue as their video reel. They just want to see how you act. But there's plenty of work out there. Backstage has a lot of casting and crew calls. Actors Access. Now, if you don't want to pay for that, same thing with Backstage. If you don't want to pay for that, literally Facebook. I found my first role ever, first audition ever, and I booked it from a Facebook post. There are so many Facebook groups, dozens, and depending on where you are, probably even hundreds. Like if you're in LA, there are definitely going to be Facebook groups for casting calls. People will always look for extras. You don't really need acting experience to be an extra, but it's a chance to be on set and meet people. When it comes to agencies, like I don't have an agent currently, but I know that a lot of productions will specifically send their casting calls to agents specifically instead of putting it out in the open for an open casting call for just anybody. So if you're an actor, definitely start out with like Facebook groups. That's what I recommend. That's what I did. And then once you gather up enough experience, then move on to an agency, sign with them, and you'll get bigger work. You'll start getting paid work. A lot of things when you start out in acting, it's going to be unpaid. It's going to be non-union. It's a lot of student films. And then some people just make their own. You can put your own reel together. Nobody says that you can't do that. Yeah, there's many different options to get auditions. Some people will even refer you. If you meet on set, they say, hey, I'm working on this project, but in like 2 months I have another one. You want to help me out on that? Like, sure. I got nothing in 2 months. I'll do that. For sure, definitely. Get people's information. It's all about who you know.
Reach out, and it's if you reach out with the intention of giving value and not really worry too much what's in it for me. I mean, it's gotta be somewhere in there, but maybe lost. But intention of giving value to people, if you know something or if you want to learn something from them.
Yeah, if you can see yourself gaining something from helping somebody, then that's not selfish. That's knowing the worth and the value of forming that relationship. It's like it goes hand in hand. And sometimes if you develop good friendships, sometimes you just want to give them favors. There's nothing wrong with that as well. Sometimes you just want to help people out because you like their work, you like what they do, and you just want to be, you want to feel good that you helped your friend out. Honestly, I've done that before too. Because I like surrounding myself in that environment, around positive people, around people you feel passionate about, who you believe in, and who inspire you. So I think that's really good.
Go into some different types of emotions here. Some memories emotions that trigger some memories, or memories triggering emotion. What is a scary moment that you can remember?
A scary moment. Well, it goes back to nerves, because while I say go down the path of excitement, it's not something I always did. And there are plenty of times where I ran away in fear from something. There was an audition I did for a short film a couple months ago, sometime last fall. I had to go all the way up to Austin for it, and I walked in because it was actually a callback. I had sent in a self-tape audition because that's what actually a lot of people ask for nowadays. I won't go off on a tangent about it, but yeah, most people ask you to send in a self-tape before you actually go in and meet them in person. But I got a call back to go to Austin, and I walk into the room, and literally everyone in there looked the same, and they were also 10 years older. So I looked like I was like 8 in a sea of 40-year-olds. And I'm like, how the hell did I get a call back to play the same role as these people? And immediately I got like scared. I'm like, I'm not getting this. I like if I fail this audition, that's the end of my career. Like they're gonna bash me. It's gonna ruin my reputation because I failed this audition. And no, there's really honestly nothing to be afraid of. But that was super scary for me. It was one of my first ever auditions, and I was terrified of not getting it. But you know, in hindsight, you do need experiences like that sometimes because they help you. You learn from them. You look back on them. They become funny stories. Like a lot of embarrassing moments eventually become funny stories.
And it'll get better from here, but I go into a sad moment.
Sad memory. Well, I mean, there's always the sad moment when you don't get a part that you did want. I mean, as an actor, there are many times where you'll have to convey sadness towards your character. But honestly, I have only been in it a year. There haven't been many sad memories that come to note. I'm sure that I probably will get some though. But nothing that comes to mind. Not at the moment anyway.
How about a happy memory that really sticks with you?
Happy memory is being on set for the first time. And not for my first ever production, but actually with that internship in high school. So way back in high school, in my it was my senior year. The first semester of my senior year, I was in a class that had you require to find a mentor in a field that you're passionate about, that you're interested in pursuing. And I obviously chose film. I interned with a video production company that had their own studio. And I remember walking into that studio for the first time as a new intern and feeling extreme joy. Like, because it was like the first fundamental step I ever took to actually pursuing acting. Because before that internship, I'd always thought of it. I'd always been like, oh, I really want to do this. But I don't know how. I don't know where to get started. It's all about who you know. Like, you won't be able to succeed or get any success unless you actually know people from Hollywood. That's not true. I've met more people than I ever could have imagined in just a year, in just a month of acting. Yeah, walking into that studio for the first time, I was extremely happy because it felt like the first step, and it's only gone up from there, and it has me excited for the future.
Yeah, here in the background, I again stopping by. I have one more of these questions for the emotions, but I heard I think you have a little dog. I heard them in the background. We're going through the quarantine of the COVID-19 pandemic. We're all quarantined. We're all. I don't want to say stuck in the house. But I mean, it's essentially we are stuck in together with the dogs, and
Ooh,
all emotions
that
are
might be
going
him.
haywire right now. So that's what's going on. That's the current situation. So
Right.
a little understanding with being in the midst of a pandemic. But
Yeah,
that
that's my dog,
leads
Jack.
into the last of the emotional moments, funny moment.
Funny moments. That bloopers are really really fun. Developing relationships with your fellow co-stars. On the first film I did for Wolves, um, my co-star basically is like my best friend now, and it was so fun to run lines with her and then perform in front of the camera with her and then just laugh whenever you messed up a line or something. Just I like cherish those moments, and I can't wait to have them with more people and forming those relationships, like I said, and outside of work or acting is just spending time with those people. They're fun. They're funny. Many funny moments where I'm crying, laughing. And the funny thing is also, I can't tell you what I was laughing about. I just remember laughing, having a good time.
So it's been grateful, even though like we had to start this, we had the technical issues, and I think
Yes,
I'll
I
have to go
apologize about
back
that.
and do some major editing to like smooth some things over. But it was grateful to connect with you. Grateful that saw you somehow show up in my feed and said, and I think one day I just was going through. It was a storyteller group on if you're in the storyteller Facebook group, and I was just reaching out to people because I'm looking to book guests and all.
Mm-hmm.
But before I get into some three final questions, like the best way to contact social media, your favorite place to hang out on social media.
Well, I thought you were about to say in person because unfortunately you can't hang out anywhere in person at the moment. But yeah, you can follow my Instagram. It's just Christian Hudspeth 29, or check me out on Facebook, Christian Hudspeth. I'm reachable. I love talking to people. So if you want to hit me up on there, that's fine. Perfect. And thank you for having me. It's been very fun. I love talking about film. I go on tangents a lot, but
That's the tangents are great. If you can do it, I asked for it. Yeah, I saw in parts of this you really started to like light up when talking about certain things too. I saw it. You went from the straight face to you just all of a sudden I saw it light up. So I knew.
I know, like sometimes just about random stuff, I'll get like scatterbrained and like talking about one sentence, and I get like an idea, like, ooh, I gotta go talk about this. Like, wait, what was I talking about a second ago? I do that all the time, and it's a problem.
Tangents help to figure out,
It's
learn
healthy,
about yourself.
and I talk to myself, and apparently there's been
That is
scientific
really
studies.
healthy. Talking to
There's
yourself.
scientific studies that talking to yourself is good for your mental health. So talk to yourself all you want, make weird noises to yourself all you want, and don't worry about other people judging you
It's
because
a sign of
that means
a genius.
exactly that means you're a smart person. You have a big brain.
So, content you have located that proud, not proud. Like, yeah, I mean, I know you're proud of your own work. You have
I
to be.
mean, there's some
But
early work that I kind
YouTube,
of hope never
Vimeo.
see the light of day, but Wolves, that's the first film that I did last August. During the whole COVID-19 crisis, post-production has been delayed on it, but it will come out, and it's coming out this year. I'm very excited for it. It's going to be going to a few film festivals before it reaches into the public, but as soon as that comes out, I'm definitely going to be announcing it to everyone, telling everyone where it's going to be, and I cannot wait to see it. A few other short films that I'm working on is I'm writing one right now. It's called Hogs. It is a campy horror film. It's going to be really interesting. Have my friend working on that. And then right now, we're also filming another film called Race by Kanye. It's a comedy, kind of like a lifestyle comedy. Right now, that's in principal photography, but that should be wrapped up hopefully this year, and then we'll be getting that out to the public soon. So 3 films working currently, and always going to be in classes, always going to be auditioning, always looking for the next thing, always keep working and keep grinding. So that's where I'm at right now currently. Well, right now, currently, we're in a crisis, like a pandemic. It has limited a lot of our work, but that doesn't stop. Yes. Right. I think I touched on all the points. There's something I probably forgot. Oh well, it'll come back to me in like 2 days.
And anything you did forget about, I'm gonna ask for like your social media and links,
Yeah, of
an
course.
actual
Feel
YouTube
free.
channel, all the links that you mentioned to the film festival. You're gonna be submitting to what you're gonna be submitting. I want all those.
I will
links.
definitely try to find the links to the film festivals. I don't know them.
Or the
That's
actual
going to be up to the director.
the things you're working on too. The links, at least those somehow.
Yeah, like I can send the IMDb links to them or something like that. But I need to check on the film festivals. I'm not sure which ones are going to. I know it's probably going to be in Texas-based film festivals, a lot in Austin, a lot here in Houston. If it goes to LA, I'm not sure if it's going to LA or Atlanta.
It may end up being like a virtual thing.
It could be. I know that whenever Wolves comes out, there will be a screening, but I think that's just for like cast and crew and like close family members. But I mean, as soon as I get that information, I'm going to be blasting it everywhere. People will know about it. The cast and crew is going to be blasting it everywhere. We're going to make it known. And I can't wait.
All right, these next final three that I like to keep off the prepared question list to get you thinking a little bit. And the last one comes from inspiration again from that other podcast I named earlier. First one, what do you want to learn from, or that learn from who has been successful in the industry?
Like if you gave me an opportunity to like have my dream person come and teach me.
Yes.
Oh, that is. You see, that kind of question is like picking. That's really difficult. There's so many, and it's hard to narrow down. Because there's also many different things I'd like to learn, and there's many different teachers that can teach that. I think that Martin Scorsese could teach me a lot. I would be extremely intimidated to talk to him, though. I know that for certain. I would be scared. I would be nervous. But you're in the middle of a great opportunity. So definitely
go the excited route.
Jump on it. I mean, it's Martin Scorsese in front of you. You're not going to be able to talk to him if you're running away from him. So,
or if he just
says no.
Mute.
Exactly. Like starstruck. Oh man, I've been starstruck before, meeting celebrities. It's. Ugh.
You touched on this in the beginning, and that's when I was like, he's listened to an episode before. Why do you think the film industry is important in our world?
Why do I think the film industry is important in our world? Because, again, a lot of different answers to this. So I'm focused on just one. It is very culturally driven, and it adapts a lot, and it's realistic. People like to relate to it. For example, films kind of mirror where society is in its current time. Like Citizen Kane is not the same movie as Captain America. That's not, they're completely different films. But at the times they were created, they were culturally significant to the audience that they were performing for. Going back even further, the first films weren't even made for entertainment. They were made for educational purposes. Like the first actual movie by Muybridge was a horse running. It was literally like almost like a PowerPoint slide, just clicked really fast, of a horse moving for some students at Stanford. That was the first technical film, and it wasn't for entertainment purposes, but eventually they started using it for entertainment purposes, especially as Edison patented a lot of motion picture technology and creating some. And people would pay just to see what's the equivalent of a modern day GIF or GIF now. What do you want to call it? And they would be like awestruck by it. They'd be like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing. How do you make pictures move?" Whereas if you made that today, people would be like, "What is this garbage?" But still, audiences appreciate what you make. And I think I'm going on a tangent again because I already forgot the question. But still, it's really, really cool how movies adapt with the culture and where we are in our society and generations. Because I'm really interested to see where film's going to be in 50 years, whether even movie theaters are still going to be open or everything's going to go on like online streaming services, because the industry is always changing. You have to learn to adapt to it. Social media, Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, those are all very new things, and it's not going away.
Facebook Watch.
It's, yeah, YouTube. YouTube is huge. It's like part of a lot of people's everyday life now, and it's only going to get bigger before it gets worse, if even.
I wouldn't acknowledge you. You've shared a lot of like knowledge and like that you have. Maybe you don't think you have so much, but clearly you have a bunch. And there's, like I said before, you lit up in at times when talking about things. You go off on tangents when they're good, and acknowledging you for stepping into as an actor, and I see you as like a renaissance man in the entertainment world. You seem like you're a student of the game, so I want to acknowledge you for taking acting in and learning all you can.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's
And-
definitely an interesting road, and I love it.
And it can be very fun if you just put your heart into it.
Oh, for sure. 100%.
I like to call this. I'm still like I'm making these little tweaks on this list, but I like to call this your story. I don't know, perfect ending. It sounds kind of like ultimate, but it's your perfect ending to your story.
Right.
And years down the line, you've done everything you want to do. And you met people, you've taken on the roles you want to do. Where do you see yourself in your perfect ending to your story, your life? What happened that perfect day? Like, how do you see that perfect day? It has to be your last. I mean, you're at the age you want to be. You've
Right.
done everything. What's your perfect ending? Perfect. How I say it? Perfect ending that day.
It's the day that I can finally look back and say, I've done all that I can and I'm happy with what I've done. I envision myself not always acting, to be honest. I definitely see majority of my career spent in the film industry, if not all of it. By then, I don't wish for something like fame. Like, I don't do it for fame, because mini tangent. If you do acting just to become famous, it's very difficult. It's a fool's errand to chase fame, because a lot of fame just comes with luck or with people or connections that you know. Hold on. But going back to where I envision myself, I want to be on a ranch. I know that. Like, I want a house with land, maybe a pool with a few benches, or like a little koi pond or something. And I want to have written some books, written some movies, and I want to have created something that is timeless, that stays where it is in its place in history. However small it may be to the public, I just want to create something that I can confidently say, this is my magnum opus, this is my masterpiece, this is my baby, this is what I can die with and feel happy about. And the best thing about that is nobody has to like it. It might be the most hated thing in the world, but if I love it and I feel happy and content about it, then I'm going to feel complete. Would it be nice if everyone loved it? Of course. Yeah, definitely, for sure. But it's just, I want to have that piece of art. I want to create something that I'm happy about and I take great pride in, and something that I can pass down to many people down the line after I'm gone. That's what I feel like I envision myself doing in the future. At the very end of the road. I mean, the road goes on, but the party never ends. That's a song, I think. Maybe. Right? Yes. I've heard it before.
To go beyond your physical presence and to be thought of and remembered as a Pablo Picasso or a Michelangelo.
Yeah, to leave a legacy, however small or big it may be. I just want it to be one that I'm happy with at the time of my death or at the time of my retirement. Let's say retirement. It's a little less morbid. I don't want to die.
Well, the first step is to know where you want to go, and now it's to go and set out and do it all.
Exactly.
And I wish you the best in getting there and knowing that. And now it's they I always say reverse engineer. You know the ending, now to work backwards from that.
Exactly. It's a very good formula to follow. Very good. Well, thank you for having me. I also wish you the best in all your future endeavors. Continue what you're doing. Stay safe during this pandemic crisis. We will get through it, though. It's not the end for any of us.
Feelings mutual. Same to you, and until next time, have you on when you become the next, when you have a bigger the bigger role, and then the next bigger role, I'll have you back on.
Bigger role.
And talk about.
No, I'll tell you all about next time I become the next superhero or something.
Or not a bigger role, just a bigger project, because you're always if you're not growing, then what are you doing? You're not getting to that end spot. So grow, get bigger.
Always have something to share, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I get that. Well, I look forward to the next time, then. It's going to be exciting. We get to look back on this.
Definitely. And we'll talk soon. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did enjoy it, please share this with your fellow filmmakers and friends, and anyone who is stuck safe at home so they can listen in too. And comment on why you liked it and what stood out to you. Be sure to check back here for weekly episodes. Give a shout out to Christian. He's on Instagram and Facebook. And be sure to check out his pages listed in the notes. And let him know you heard him on the show. Also let me know how I am doing. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please give me a review and let me know what you liked or what changes I may need to incorporate. Thank you for listening and subscribing to Keeping It Real in the Film World. I hope you got some value from this episode.